He's been called the most connected man on earth, a South African television exclusive with the engaging and somewhat eccentric Chris Dancy. We'll find out how technology has changed his life and what marketers and brands can learn from him. And a storm continues to rage in the local print media industry. We'll bring you a special report on the nasty and very public spat between the Independent and Mail and Guardian groups. This is Mags on Media. Financial health, alleged non-payment of staff, perceived closeness to the ruling party, the departure of key editors and the position of the South African National Editors Forum. All ingredients in an increasingly messy and public spat between independent media and the Mail and Guardian group and their two high-profile leaders, Iqbal Surve and Trevor Ncube. We start this week with a special report from Karyn Maughan, who has spoken extensively to the key players involved.
We congratulate independent news and media for contributing to the diversification of media ownership. This is good for our country.
President Jacob Zuma's words of encouragement for the new owners of independent newspapers were meant to herald a new era in South African media ownership. Instead, they have become an ironic precursor to an increasingly ugly newspaper war.
People ask me today, do I regret having bought Independent? I often joke, I think there are only two people in this country that have been the targets of such malicious and vicious personal attacks. One is President Zuma, and the other one is myself. It's amazing what you can read about us in the media.
The target of Surve's ire, the Mail and Guardian, who has relentlessly questioned the Chinese and South African government investment in the independent deal. Surve previously reacted to questions from M&G journalist Karyn Maughan by suggesting that Mail and Guardian publisher Trevor Ncube was being funded by the CIA. The Mail and Guardian has also extensively covered the resignations of independent newspapers, editors and staffers, as well as the controversial axing of Cape Times editor Alida Dasnoir. Dasnoir was removed after she ran a front-page story on the Public Protector's findings about the improper tender between the Agriculture Department and a Sekonjalo consortium. Surve denies that Dasnoir was fired because she ran the story about his consortium, but rather because she didn't lead with Nelson Mandela's death on the front page. The Cape Times wraparound tribute to Mandela that day has won worldwide acclaim, and Dasnoir is fighting her dismissal in court. In recent weeks, independent newspapers has reported that operations owned by Mail and Guardian publisher Trevor Ncube were in dire financial trouble. He's denied those claims and suggested the report was published in response to the Mail and Guardian again asking questions about Independent. Mail and Guardian CEO Hussein Kajika says Surve previously asked Ncube to tell Mail and Guardian reporters not to investigate Independent's ownership.
Dr. Surve called me as well, and we had a very similar conversation. And I did say to him that, I'm not able to pull our general source of story. That's not the way the Mail and Guardian does things. And I even indicated to him, he indicated to me that he'd sue us. He said to me, Hussein, I'm going to sue you, And I said, Iqbal, that is your prerogative, but I'm not going to get involved in this. And I think that's really where I sense the hostility starting towards us.
Independent newspapers executive editor Karyn Maughan has accused Mail and Guardian of an ongoing campaign of negative reporting about the group. She says that campaign was driven by Mail and Guardian's thwarted ambitions to buy profitable independent titles.
We have proof of purchase offers from the Mail and Guardian to buy what they considered 3 of the most profitable titles in the independent stable, and we weren't open to selling it to them. We've noticed a pattern of negative reporting. The Mail and Guardian has been coming at Independent relentlessly. The attempt to frame this as a debate about whether we're gagging journalists or whether we are preventing people from writing what they want is a complete red herring. The truth of the matter is that they're a competitor, that they wanted to acquire titles, they wanted to stop the acquisition, and because they couldn't succeed in that, they've actually gone on a campaign to try and frighten our investors.
Kajika denies this. He says Mail and Guardian never tried to buy independent titles, but instead offered to help Surve in running certain newspapers.
We wrote to him, saying to him, well, if he had any intention with some of the titles that he was going to be acquiring, we'd be interested in partnering with him. So we never ever submitted a bid in opposition to his bid.
Exactly the way
Brown says she will produce proof of the Mail and Guardian's purchase offers if the newspaper lays a formal complaint with the Ombudsman over its stories on the newspaper group's financial woes. For now, it seems that neither Independent nor the Mail and Guardian have any intention of stopping their coverage of each other.
If the editor feels that there's a story that is in the public interest, then the editor ought to pursue that.
The Mail and Guardian recently, in the elections that have just passed, called on South Africans not to vote for the African National Congress. And we wanted to find out if that stance has been influenced by the fact that the organization, the Media Development Investment Fund, was in fact requiring that as a condition for funding. And that is a story that we are in fact still pursuing.
Those words indicate that while Independent's battle with Mail and Guardian may be commercial, it is also deeply political. A war between a publication that has told its readers not to vote ANC and a media group that has actively sought buy-in from the ruling party. At the Independent launch earlier this year, President Jacob Zuma expressed his hope that independent newspapers could help to tell a different story about South Africa.
If we do not tell the story ourselves and instead choose to be overly critical and paint a wrong picture that our country is failing when it is not, we are doing South Africa and South Africans who work hard a huge disservice.
It remains to be seen, however, whether those aims can be realized through open conflict with other newspaper organizations. Karyn Maughan for Mags on Media.
You can let us know what you think of this ongoing fight on our Facebook page, and when Mags on Media continues, an exclusive interview with a person who purports to be the most connected man in the world.
News that moves. ENCA.com.